What's going on, everybody? Orel Moody here. I'm super excited to start this webinar, and this one is really special for a lot of reasons for me. If you can see right here, this is a copy of the first book that I wrote, and right here, if you can see that, is a copy of the second book that I wrote. And there's two other books that I've written as well. One is more of a workbook, and the other is a children's book. Now, what I can tell you beyond a shadow of a doubt is the book that has most changed my life has been the book that I've written myself. I'm going to explain why in some very specific detail. When I first, before I wrote that book, I dealt with a lot of, it's funny, it's not something that probably anyone would have seen on the outside, but it was very internal for me. I dealt with, like, you know, am I good enough? You know, why should people bring me in, whether it was to speak or whatever? I was like, why, who am I? And I felt like that for a long time. And then I remember thinking to myself, I should do something about it. And I was trying to decide, you know, man, I've always wanted to write a book. And then a student came up to me at one of my presentations, and he said, you know, Orel, I really appreciate your presentation. It really impacted me. I would love to start reading some books. You talked about reading. What is the first book I should read if I want to get into personal development? And I started thinking about it, and I was like, well, you know, I could mention the books I've read, like Think and Grow Rich and Rich Dad Poor Dad. I thought those were all really good books that have impacted me. But I was trying to think, if I was starting straight from the beginning, which book would I recommend? And to be honest with you, I couldn't think of the exact book. So I gave him some suggestions. I said, oh, Rich Dad Poor Dad, Think and Grow Rich are really good. But what made me move was that this book right here was the book that I wrote. If I could give someone the very first personal development book that would be about success, that would still be about school, what would I want to read? And literally, I wrote that book. So on a very personal level, it became that, like, message to the world at the time. Like, it was 5 pillars, it was 5 ideas that meant a lot to me. And what happened when that book came out, everything changed. I mean, when I say everything changed, I was able to start booking more speaking engagements. People started introducing me as an author. I was able to up my speaking fee by a lot, actually 5 times my speaking fee. And it felt like it was justifiable because I was an author. I was able to get news and get on media. Why? Because I was an author. And I was able to sell tons of the book, you know, tens of thousands of copies over the years. And the reason that was possible is because that book exists. You know, like, literally a couple of months ago, not a couple of months ago, a couple of weeks ago, I got an order in for 1,000 copies of that book. Now, for clarity, I wrote that book in 2009. So I got a bulk order for 1,000 copies of this book that I wrote 11 years ago. So one of the incredible benefits of the book, not only what it did for my confidence, not only what it did for my career, not only what it did for who I am, but to create an asset, like a legit asset that still generates income and still impacts people long after I put in the work, has been an incredible blessing. You know, if I'm at a speaking engagement, when it was in person, like we're kind of virtual right now, but giving someone a copy of the book was like one of my greatest joys, and signing. I remember the first time I had a line of people wanting to get my book autographed. It was amazing. And then to get messages from people talking about how the book has impacted them. It became such a big part of my happiness and my being able to, like, kind of check an incredible box to say, I am an author. It's an amazing box. And I've been talking to Gio, and I've known Gio for many years now. And a couple of years ago, he started telling me about, like, kind of on a secret tip, that he's been publishing and writing books for people. And I was like, how many? I thought like 1 or 2. And then he was like, dozens. I was like, dozens? I was like, hold on. So I started asking him questions about it, because, you know, I had written the one at the time and the second. But then he started telling me about his ideas and his philosophies. And I was thinking to myself, man, I wish I would have known a lot of the things that he knows, because it would have sped up, and I think I would have even improved upon it. So I know for my next one, I'll be better off. So what I wanted to do was just to bring him here and just kind of grill him and interview him and ask him all the questions I wish I would have asked, so that all of you can figure out how to get that book written. And I will tell you one more thing before I bring Gio on. It has never been a more important and better time to get this book written right now. And I'm gonna tell you 2 reasons why. The first reason is simply because with us all being at home, with us all being quarantined, and that's going to happen, this is literally the perfect time to work on projects that you haven't worked on or you've been wanting to work on. I think people 5 years from now, 10 years from now, when they look back at this moment, they're going to regret that they didn't take advantage of this unique opportunity. Because there are people who are like, oh, I don't have time to write a book. It takes me an hour and a half to get to work, an hour and a half to get back. Well, for many of us, we don't have 3-hour commute anymore. So we have 3 hours of potential writing time that didn't exist. You have workloads that have changed tremendously. So in terms of timing, if you really want to look at the history of the history of your life, when has there been a time when people could have as much time home as we're having right now and it's socially acceptable across the board? Never existed before. So the timing has never been more important for you. And the second thing, and literally this happened with a customer of mine, a client of mine said this to me, and I said, you are so right. They're literally booking me for an event in 2021, right? So like months and months in advance, right? And I've never gotten booked that far out this early in 2020. And what he said to me he said, our organization was going through some challenges, but when this is all over, the amount of challenges we're going to go through are going to be through the roof. He's like, we have to start planning now for how we're going to positively impact our members. And when I think about your book, I think people are going to be hungry for refreshing ideas, new ideas, inspirational ideas, life-changing ideas, business-changing ideas, because we're going through literally one of the biggest like societal changes we've ever seen, from the pandemic, from civil, what's happening in terms of the civility with Black Lives Matter and what that looks like in our society. There's never been a time like this. And I think on the other end of this, people are going to be wanting new ideas, new leaders, new people to help support them through. And you positioning yourself with that book now will allow you to position yourself to get media attention, to get speaking engagements, to impact people, to get mailback money, from checks that just come in from book orders. It's never been a better time. So for all of you, I'm so glad you're here. What I encourage you to do is turn off distractions. Right now, some of you might be looking at your phone, checking Instagram. Is that you? Are you doing it right now? Huh? Were you just listening to me, not looking at the video? Is that what you were doing? Because I'm calling you out, okay? I'm calling you out. We got to be taking notes. Thank you, Diane. We got to be taking notes and stay focused, because Gio just literally decided to open up the book. So it's very easy when you watch webinars to be washing dishes and not paying attention, but I need you to be locked into this because your message is important. And you as the messenger need to get this book written so you can impact people. So with that being said, Gio, thank you so much for being willing to give away your kind of industry secrets here, man.
Yes, it's open book, no pun intended.
I think fully pun intended.
Fully.
Oh, I forgot I put it right here. If anyone doesn't know, this is the children's book I wrote, impacting parents' lives. Anyway, so, Gio, tell me, and I know that we were talking earlier and you agreed to do this, and I'm really, really grateful for it. So we're going to literally answer every question possibly that I can ask, and hopefully you can ask. But I know we're going to do everything we can for this about hour and a half that we're probably going to spend together. We can't do everything. I want to be very transparent. If there's anyone who tells you they can solve every single one of your problems in an hour, run as far away as possible, because it's not true. There's no one who can. So I know that you were telling me about that program that you have. That's really cool. We're going to do as much as we can here. Would you mind telling us about that at the end?
Absolutely. Yeah, no, definitely.
Okay, cool. So tell me more about your story, how you got into this and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So honestly, similar to your background in terms of just speaking, wanting to go ahead and build a business. One of the things that I saw was that I was just struggling to get the attention, the authority, the credibility, the branding that I really wanted to have. I knew I was good. I knew I wanted to impact the world. I knew I had a message, but the struggle was, how do I go and turn this around and not have to be in a position where I'm actually begging people to want to help people? I thought that everybody wants to be helped, or everybody would love to go and have somebody go ahead and be a leader and serve and do all those things. But what I started to realize was I was literally begging people for even free speaking engagements. This was I'm not even charging and I can't get a yes. This is absolutely crazy. But then as I sat back and I started to look at what was happening, I started to get desperate. I was like, I gotta go and find out what's the secret sauce, what's the solution, like how these guys that I aspire to be like, how are they all getting this win? And as I was looking at them, I started to look at their bios. And when I read their bios, we had motivational speaker in common, but the next thing right after that was author. And I was like, dang, I don't have that. Like, I don't have that author. And so I went online, read every single blog post I could possibly find, live on YouTube. They say you can learn anything on YouTube. And I went ahead and did that and invested in a lot of programs to figure out how do I actually write a book so that I can get to a position where I don't have to go ahead and beg to be me. Like, I really wanted to just be that person of living a life of purpose, impact, and not be broke doing it at the same time. And so I went ahead, bought several courses, eventually went ahead and wrote my book, learned a lot of things along the way, learned what I should have done, what I did, what I should do, what I shouldn't do. And even at that point, I started struggling, like thinking about, wow, what do I do now? Like, I got this stuff, and everything changed the minute I was able to go and tell somebody that I had this book. Like, right, so this is my first book, right? And seeing this and giving it to somebody, it just changed me. Like, I know we talked about this on the side, how like our identity changed. Like, I just became a completely different person. And I understand the idea of, I don't have the confidence to go and tell people what I do. And this book gave me that confidence. I was able to walk into a room and no longer think about begging. Things completely turned around where people were like begging me to come and do speaking engagements. And the only thing that changed was I got a book, and now the credibility, the authority, and the brand, and all the things that come along with it happened.
So when you started helping other people with their book, because one of the things that's interesting is not only, so I've written my book, I've put together some content to help people with their book, but you've worked directly with people for years, getting them to write the book. What do you think is the consistent thread of why people don't write the book? Like, what is stopping people from actually writing it and getting it out there?
Several things. So number one of the biggest ones is, why would anybody want to hear from me? Right. So that's one of the biggest objections is are like, I don't feel like I'm good enough to write a book. Is that whole imposter syndrome. It's like there's 300 books. I'm not Les Brown. I'm not Eric Thomas. I'm not Lisa Nichols. And so because we start getting into this whole story where we build an amazing case as to why you're not good enough to go and write a book. And so that is like where I see a lot of people are stuck. And that's literally where the beginning of the process begins, is getting them to validate the fact that your story, your message actually matters. And there's a certain people out there that need your specific story. They don't want to hear it from the celebrity. They don't want to hear it from the person who's on a mountaintop on, living on that nice big house. They're looking for someone who's relatable, just like them, to go ahead and share a story. So that's number one, is getting over the fact that the market is overcrowded. Who would want to hear another motivational story or another inspirational story? Who wants to hear about leadership again? John Maxwell wrote like 700 books about leadership. Why would they want to hear mine? And getting them to realize that you have a certain secret sauce that people need. And if you just write that and find your true 1,000 fans or your true people that would resonate with you, you can literally go ahead and impact the world.
You know what's always fascinated me, and this was a big mental shift for me. There were two things that were my big mental shift, right? Based on what you said. The first one was, people say, oh, well, someone else has already written a book on that, right? And I remember I said that exact same thing to a friend of mine who I admire. Like, he was much further along in life than me, but we were the same age. And I said, man, and what he said to me was amazing. He said, Aurel, how many books have you read on the same topic? And I was like, well, dozens. He's like, exactly. Like, you've read books on inspiration, you've read books on motivation, you've read books on business, but why do you keep reading books? Because people who are interested in a concept, they're not just interested in one book and then they're done, right? And I would argue everyone who's watching this, right? Have you read one book on a subject you're genuinely interested in and then said, okay, I'm good, don't need to read any more on this? Like, oh, I'm interested in motivation, I read one motivation book, I'm good. No, like, successful people, one, read tons of books. So I was like, okay, that's helpful. And then the second thing that changed my life, which was amazing, is that a friend of mine who had written a book before I had written mine said, you give yourself so much pressure with your first book that you have to write your Rich Dad Poor Dad. That's what everyone thinks. They think, I've got to write the best book that's ever been written. It's got to be Rich Dad Poor Dad good. But he said, yo, your first book doesn't have to be Rich Dad Poor Dad. There's all authors that you love, I would argue, have written more than one book. Mm-hmm. And I would argue the large majority of authors, their first book wasn't their book that like blew up. Like we think about like the J.K. Rowlings and the Robert Kiyosaki's who wrote this one book and their life totally changes. So we put this pressure that the book we have to write has to be on that level. But in all reality, you just need to get the book done, because what you'll find is by getting it done, your 30% good book is 100% what someone needed, right? The 30, you put a book together and you're like, man, this is like 40% good of what I probably could have done. That could be 100% what someone needed to hear. And if you don't write that, you are literally, and I'm saying this from a place of love. Like I'm literally saying it from a place of love. The most selfish thing you can do is not write your book, because there's someone out there who needs you, who needs your words, who needs your message, and you're not giving it to them because you're trying to create this perfect thing that you might never write. So then think about all of the lives of the people at 2 a.m. when they got no one to turn to and they're going through stress, and they look at their library and they pull out your book and they read it and it gives them the exact words that they needed to hear in the moment. This, the most selfish thing you can do is not write that book so that person can't have it at 2 a.m. Like that's the worst thing you can do. You have to put it out there because your 30% is 100% what someone needs, right? 100%. So you know, and I get really passionate about this because I see so many people who say that they want to do it, but then they don't. And I'm like, yo, like, get it done. So when you look at someone, Gio, and they're struggling, they're like, all right, I want to get it done. I've been thinking about it for years, right? And we've all met those people. I've been thinking about writing a book for years, but I haven't. What would you recommend as like the first step someone should take to get over writer's block or get over fear and actually write the book?
Yeah, I personally say, and this is one of the number one tips, is start writing your book on social media, and essentially. Like, I really firmly believe, like, social media, Facebook right now is making a ton of money off of us, right? Like, they're like, hey, we got all these demographics. We know exactly what they like. And I've always said, like, take your content, put it out there right now, and you'll start to build that momentum. I get the idea of trying to write a book, and I call it like birthing a book. Trying to birth your book is tough. It's tough, in you know, starting from a cold. It's like starting a car in the winter. However, if you go online and you're like taking that one thing that you've been thinking about over and over and over again, that idea you've been sitting on for 5 to 10 years, and you put a version of it out to social media, and now all of a sudden people say, oh my gosh, like, let me share that. Oh, I saved that. Oh my God, this is what I needed right now in this moment. That little like, that one comment on a social media post can be the very thing you needed to go and say, you know what, this validates my idea. And I'm not saying that you need validation from somebody else, but at the same time, we are not writing the book for me, right? I'm writing a book from a place of service to serve people. Let me go and put it out there. Let me see what works. And then I go ahead and take these collection of ideas that I've put out in the world already, that's already been vetted. And now you just make them have like a nice family reunion with all those things that you've written. And now that becomes the framework of your book. And so one of the things, I did that with this. Like, so this is my second book. You got 2 books, I got 2 books, right? And Gio's Gems, I did that very same thing. And people were saying, you're sharing gems, and those things are so good. And I'm like, yeah, this is everything that made the book. And all the things that people have commented for over the years, they made the book because I tested it. And so maybe somebody's listening right now and they're like thinking, well, I don't want to go ahead and put my best stuff out. Like, you know, what if someone goes and steals it? Here's the thing. Who steals something that's not of value? Like, I think like we're so protective of an idea that we're like, oh, you know what? And there's nothing new under the sun. Put it out there. Let people go ahead and share it. I can't tell you how many times I've paid for stuff that literally was started off by somebody sharing something so amazing that I was like, sheesh, if it's that good and that was the free stuff, oh man, take my money. Like I'm gonna go ahead and invest in that.
Yo, and let me emphasize this, okay? This is a big fear. I see this manifested in so many different ways, and it manifests its way like this. Well, if I write the good ideas down, someone else will copy them, and then it's gonna be horrible feeling. Or if I write all my good ideas down, then why would anyone buy my book, right? Where's the man? I have this book outside. I bought this book. It's in this is my one library. I got a second library in my living room. Literally, it's a book called The Book of Awesome. I don't know if everyone's ever heard about this. It's a blog, right? From a guy who literally just took his blog posts, put them together in a book, and said, look, you can wade through all the blog posts, or you can buy the one book and have them all in one. And it's a really cute book. It's literally like things that make you feel awesome, like peeling an orange and doing it in one peel. And it's like, it's an awesome feeling, right? It's like cool things like that. But literally the blog post, I would read one and then read the other and be like, man, this is so good. And then when I knew I could get them all in one spot, it was like, it was a no-brainer. It was a no-brainer. So I think people get so scared, oh, but if my content's out there, people are gonna steal it. Or if I put it out there, they're gonna get it and they won't buy my book. It's actually the complete opposite, because what most people do is they keep the whole writing process a secret, right? They put the whole, and then one day they come out and go, hey, everyone, I have a book. And then no one cares.
Right.
You care because you've been working on it day and night like a slave for 6 months, but the whole world doesn't even know about it. But if you're putting out this incredible content and then you go, yo, I'm putting all of this content together in one place, it actually makes people believe you and trust you, and then they will purchase from you, man. So like, I'm really just a big advocate of like, it's a fear that's actually never, it's not founded, you know? So what else? What other things that people get caught up on that actually stops them from moving forward?
Yeah, I would, that social media thing, I see a lot of people writing in the comments that they love that one. It's super big. Another one that I think that is the service, your book being a service, is so crucial to the process of writing a book. I think when you start to think about the 5 people, the 100 people, the 500 people who can go ahead and actually read your book, it absolutely changes everything. Because when we think about, and you've taught this to me, and I've had many instances where this has happened to me, is the idea of, it's so easy for me to let myself down. It's hard for me to go and let down 100 people, 500 people, 1,000 people. And this really hit me when I wrote my book, and one young lady said, this was the first time in my life I ever read a nonfiction book. And I was like, what? And she's like, and I'm like, yeah. She's like, yeah, I just read fiction all day, like the dramas and all these things like that. Your book was the first time I read a nonfiction book. And she was like, after reading your book, I might give more nonfiction books a try. And I'm sitting here thinking to myself, and I don't know if you've ever heard this narrative, I'm pretty sure you have, where they say, hey, if you want to go ahead and hide some information for a certain demographic, just put it in a book, they'll never see it, right? And to see her go ahead and have to open her world. And they said that once you stretch your mind, it never returns back to its original state. And to get to a point where she can now say, wow, I will go ahead and pick up that nonfiction book now because I met somebody who wrote a book that I was like, man, this is not so bad. And so when we think of ourselves as like servant leadership, and like literally I am serving and I'm opening up and introducing a new world to people, then all of a sudden you now have the motivation and the momentum that you need to go ahead and write your book. Because I will be lying to you if I said writing a book is easy. It's not easy, but when the vision of who I can impact is always in front of me, that makes it a lot easier. And I know for most people who's on here, that's something that's important to them. If I told you you could literally write a book and you could make $10,000 a month, but no one would ever read it, no one would ever be impacted by it, I don't think you would be on here if that was you. Because you could literally go ahead, go online, buy a private label book, pay a bunch of Facebook ads and try to drive traffic and try to make money that way. But I think the people who are here are like, I want to have an impact on the world. And because of the value that I put in the world, in return, they gave me their income.
And I'll tell you what the biggest thing that I think stops people with that mindset, right? Biggest thing that stops people is they get focused on the first 80 yards is what I'll call it. And what I mean by the first 80 yards is someone will get really excited about writing a book and they start they get into a zone. Oh, it's going to impact a lot of people. It's going to be amazing. And they're finally get in the zone and they're hammering, right? But then, since it's the first time they've done it and they've got no one helping them with it, it's that last 20 yards before the end zone where you got to start figuring out, well, how do I edit it so that it actually looks like an actual book and not just me writing a bunch of stuff? How do I make sure it's not repetitive? How do I get my, barcode and Bauer and Wilkins and my ISBN number, and how do I get, what categories do I put it in, and what's my title, and what cover should I have, and what should be on the spine, and what direction, and what font should I use, and what font should the inside of the book be? I can't just do it in any font. What's the front matter? So that last 20 yards gets people so scared and nervous that they forget about, one, they're doing it by themselves, so they don't even know where to go to get the answers because they don't even know how to ask it. But then two, when they get caught up, they stop thinking about the people they're serving. And they start thinking about I'm not smart enough. I don't know anything about what front matter means. I don't know anything about publishing. I don't know about how I get into the Library of Congress. I don't know, I don't even know what the title of it's going to be. And I got to get a photo. Who's going to, so they don't, and then they get frustrated by that last 20 yards and they're so mad because that first 80 was the exciting, funny phase of love of the book. But that last 20 yards is like death. And then they quit because instead of them going, you know what, this is about serving others and I got to do whatever I need to do. I got to figure out whatever I need to figure out to get there. They go, well, maybe I'm not good enough, so I quit.
Yeah, not good. 100%. That literally is it. And I know for the many people that I've done books with, without the support, there's a lot of unfinished books on computers right now. There's a lot of unfinished books, literally amazing ideas that would set people free. People do a lot of things to go and buy freedom, happiness, joy, fulfillment. They do a lot of other things that's not healthy. And your book is, for lack of a better term, the drug that they needed to go and consume so that they can go ahead and get the healing that they're looking for. But because we're it's not perfect. And I've said this to many people who I've worked with where it's yes, your book is not perfect, but you're writing it for an imperfect person. And an imperfect person, what happens is when you write a perfect book, it's I could never achieve that perfection. And so because of that, we're no longer relatable. And so now that book cannot help. And I just want to encourage anyone who's listening to this right now that your imperfect book was written to an imperfect person. And that thing that you trying to hide and say, I'm not that good at it, that's the very thing that gives you the password and opens up the door for them to say, I see myself in you. And that's one of the things when people say, I want to write a book and it's about me and my life story. One of the biggest mistakes becomes you wrote about you and the audience can never find themselves. And we were going to go on a,
we got to go into that.
On that.
Man, listen, for everyone watching, Gio is about to save you one of the biggest mistakes he has seen. And it was funny because I was kind of saying this to him, we were talking, we were joking, and we were both saying how many people we see doing this mistake. So please go into more about the people who want to write anything that's autobiographical.
Yes. So when it comes to autobiographies, what happens is we see Kevin Hart, Damon John, Oprah, Michelle Obama, and they write autobiographies. And we're like, hey, I want to go and write my life story too. And what happens, they go ahead, they write their life story. And here's the crazy thing about this whole idea about autobiographies, Zarel. The thing is, the autobiographies are often the longest books that people could write. Right? So we think I got this book is my life story. And that's the book that's 400 pages, which now going to cost you forever and a day to get that edited and all the other people you got to hire to do it. But the thing is, you slave to do 400 pages and no one reads it. Like not one person reads it. Like, I want to know what Michelle Obama ate when she was 8 years old. Yeah, she's Michelle Obama, right? But at the same time, and I'm not trying to knock anyone here and say, hey, you ain't no Michelle Obama, you know one. No, I'm just saying that people need to find themselves in the story. And if you don't find a way to make that connection, your story should be a supporting actress. Anyone who's reading your book, they want to be the main character. And anytime, yeah, go ahead.
Oh, listen, let me tell you, I'm sitting here, and that whole supporting actress thing, you just like struck a nerve in me, right? Because I'm going to say the thing that I want to say to save people the heartache. No one on this call is Michelle Obama. Gio wouldn't say it. I am going to say it. Okay? None of you are Kevin Hart. And what I mean by that is, people write these stories about when I was 3 years old, I grew up here. And when I was 9 years old, I went to this school. And I'm reading it like, when does it get to me, the reader, right? Like, when does it turn into what I'm supposed to get from your story? And the truth is, I don't care about a story, someone's autobiography. I really don't. What I want to get is the supporting actress where the main star is me, the reader. That's who the book is for. It's for the reader. It's not for you to just create a journal about how you did something that's super cool. Like, I bench pressed 300 pounds and I want to tell you about why it was super difficult. Now, if you're going to break down how you got to bench pressing 300 pounds and the food you ate and the lifts that you did and all of that stuff, fantastic. But if you just want to tell me how you was a weakling in high school and you worked really hard and you bench, I don't give a damn. I don't care. I don't care. The reader don't care. The reader cares what's in it for me. And I think what you're saying with the support, and I want you to go deeper in this. I get mad excited about this because I see so many people give me a book and it's just them talking about themselves. And I'm like, what am I supposed to, as a reader, what am I supposed to get from this? Why? So talk about the idea of switching the roles, right? So you were saying to me earlier today that people do the autobiography and then there's an afterthought, where the afterthoug's supposed to be first. So tell me more, because I love that.
Right. Yeah, no, it's the idea of like, we take our story and then we try to paint it with something. Like, you know what? My story is about my upbringing as a Haitian American kid, for example. I'm Haitian American, right? So I tell you this whole story about Haitian American and all this stuff like that, versus instead of it talking about the journey of success from an immigrant's perspective, right? And putting that first, and that's the framework. That's like an image on a coloring book. Your story, you can go and use your story to color it in to make it look nice and make it more relatable, because people like stories. They can find lessons in that. But the framework should be the theme, and that should come first. And your story is supporting details. Like, it's supposed to paint the picture, make it a little bit more crystal clear. But even without your story, the concept alone should still be able to live. Like, it should still be able to live. And so you want to go ahead and lead with that first. And when you do that, it makes it so much easier to write the book, because now, instead of that book being 400 pages long, you're only including part of your story that is relevant to the topic. I don't want to know about the fact you used to eat now-a-laters when you were in 5th grade. And that ain't got nothing to do with the fact that you're an immigrant child. Your parents came from Haiti to go and give you an opportunity to go and become successful in life. Like that it would save you so much work, because now you got 200 pages and they're like, yo, when is the story gonna really begin? And you over here and you're like, yo, you know what? I got 32 chapters. And look at my spine, it's so thick, and the book is a real book. It's not a pamphlet. It's like really got a lot of pages. And it's like, that's cool, but they'll never get to the part at the end when you finally decided, all right, I'm done talking about me. Now let's talk about you. And you look at it and they're not even on the bus. They're not on the train. And you show up and you're like, ta-da, hey guys, we're here. And then you look around and you're like, oh snap. So what, I'm the only one here? And so you want to think about the person you're writing to, make sure you have that theme front and center. And from the very beginning, even from the titles and all that stuff, the design, they should know they wrote that for me. If they're reading the book and they get your book and they're like, oh, it's about Aurel. No, it should be like, yo, dang, this book is about me. It just was written by Aurel. It was written by Gio.
And you know what? Let me tell you, for those of you who are still here, okay, I'm about to give you the writing gem. I'm gonna steal Gio's gems here, okay? I'm gonna give you a writing gem because Gio says something, and I want you to catch this. This is a big mistake in the writing world. People say, all right, I'm gonna write this book. No, you know what? If y'all say, I'm about to drop some, this right here is $1,000 thing I'm about to drop to y'all, okay? So if y'all want to know this, somebody say ready. I'm going to take Naima's thing. If y'all ready, put ready in the comment. This is going to change everything, okay? Okay, I'm seeing some ready. I just want to make sure because I'm about to give you some fire now, okay? And I don't usually get hype about my own content. Okay?
Let's go in.
Here's what happens. Most people, when they write a book, right? They write like, I'm going to motivate people. No. What you do is you choose one person to write the book to. You write it to the past version of yourself. You choose a niece, a nephew, a younger brother, and you write it as if I need this one person's life to be changed. The difference between writing that way is writing a book that someone goes, okay, that was cool, versus someone reading it and going, oh my God, I feel like you were talking directly to me. You made me feel like I was the one person that you, like, it's like you knew me. Because when you write to a general mass, it doesn't impact people. It doesn't move people. But when you write to one person, one archetype, you can even create even if it's not a real human, you can create like an avatar of the person. And Gio, I know when you coach people, you help, there's like an interview process you take them through. So I want to just touch upon that a little bit because I think that's really deep, right? But when you write to one person, your message is clear, it's focused. And then when people read it, you'll find they have more in common with that one person than if you try to write it generally and then it feels generic. So Gio, when you work with people, you also interview them, right? Yeah. Tell me about the importance of asking the right questions so you can get the right answers in how you write your book.
Yeah, I think it helps from a chronological perspective, just in terms of flow. There's several reasons why we go with the interview process. Number one, it helps you to have your authentic voice come out, right? So now when I'm talking to you and I'm interviewing you, we've all seen the talk shows with the celebrities talking about their movies, their shows, all this stuff. That's important. But the questions, why I love them is because we now have an outline. And I think it's like, if I told you to fill in the blank, it's easy to fill in blanks. What happens is we get like that blank stare when we don't have prompts. So the question serves as prompts to go in, and it's like almost like invitation to tell me more. And you know, when you tell somebody, tell me more, they're like, oh, snap. Well, how much you want to know? Like, it's like so much easier to get that stuff out. And so the beauty of the questions is now, instead of you trying to figure out, how do I go and get this content out? The questions give you, it's almost like, I guess it's almost like when you think about like when you see court cases, when you see people getting interviewed by the police or whatever stuff, and you see they're leading on the witness, like with their questioning. It's essentially the same thing to get you closer to getting the thing out of you. So I'm just basically like poking the bear, getting it, hey, listen, I tickled you, now you laughed. Those questions help you to go ahead and do that. And so when you zoom out, and first, I always encourage everybody, you have to have an outline. The outline helps to go and come up with the questions. The questions have a natural flow. You're not thinking, you're just literally just going and answering the questions. And I know some people might be thinking, well, where do I go ahead and get people to go and interview me? Or how do I go ahead and do that process? It's kind of weird, like Gio, so why is fix your roof when it's sunny outside? Why is that relevant? Well, I'm glad you asked, Gio. And then you keep going. I get that that's weird, right? But at the same time, I'm pretty sure everyone has a friend who can sit on the phone for an hour, 2 hours and say, hey, listen, send me the questions and I'll be more than happy to go and ask them if that's something that you want to do. Or there are people online that are for super cheap, would be glad. I can't tell you how many times I've had people when the interview process, literally they're like, man, like I was interviewing and asking you the questions, but my life got changed just in the fact that I was invited in the creation process in the first place. And so I can't stress this enough. The interview stuff is super, super key. It's like literally, you brought it out. Apparently, we're telling everything tonight because that's like my secret sauce that literally goes and eliminates. That's like my number one solution for overcoming writer's block. Because writer's block, the word itself is writers. So if I interview you, we're not writing. We're just talking. So I never heard someone say, I got a speaking block. No, you ain't got no speaking block, especially if I'm telling you the questions and you know it ahead of time, there's no speaker's block. And what we don't realize is every time we see a celebrity on a TV show, on a talk show, we're like, oh my gosh, they just are so good at answering these questions, not realizing that those questions weren't the first time that wasn't the first time they saw them. They're like, hey, I got this movie coming out. Here's 5 questions I want you to ask me about the movie. And then you're like, well, wow, like it's like Kevin Hart was the director of the movie. He knew the question. So he can now drive that conversation to where he would like it to be.
And what's so powerful about that interview technique, right? When you get the right questions asked, those prompts move you. So when you're like, well, what should I say? Well, what would you say about, this? And again, you like with your system, I know you have very specific questions that move people along because there's also story arcs, and it's important. If anyone knows about Hero's Journey, there's a way that you create a story so that it makes sense. But the key that I want you all to get from this is when you think about not let me just write, what's the right question for me to ask that I can answer and write? That's crucial, man. Like
and you just said something now, brought it back to my attention. What happens is when we have a book that is not positioned as a solution to a problem, which is like, right, there's questions and answers, right? So people want the answer. What you're doing is you're proposing the question. And when you go into people's minds and you understand your avatar, you understand who are you writing to, you do know the questions that keep them up at night. You do know the questions that they're wrestling with. And the minute you say the very same questions that they have, they're like, oh my gosh, Arel gets me. Oh my gosh, Gio understands me. And what is crazy is the minute they had that, there's many people who's on here who I've known for a long time, and they're like, we connect on a different level because I get you. And the questions literally helps you to come up with content that is already framed in a solution framework. So now instead of it being all theory, I'm like, oh snap, like that's the answer. And the reason is the answer is because it came from an actual question.
Now, let me be very clear. Yeah, I don't want what Gio said to go over your head now. let me be very clear. Gio just dropped a gem here, okay? And I want to re-emphasize what he just said, okay? And I want you, if you remember one thing I say to you, like, and I, by the way, before I'm about to drop something that's fire, honestly, there's a couple of things I think of fire. This is my second fire thing, okay? If y'all want some fuego, do me a favor, write fire in the chat, just so I know you're not jumping on Instagram and watching inappropriate twerk videos. I don't know what y'all do in your alone time. I'm not going to judge you, okay? All right. Oh, I got some fuego. I got some Vernon. Vernon went Spanish. Thank you, Vernon. Okay. Now, people do not buy books to read a book. They buy a book to get out of something. Okay. What I mean by that is they write a book to, if you want to write a fiction book, for example, I want to read a book because I want to get out of my reality. I want to go on a vacation. I want to go into this new world, right? Now, for many of us, we probably are all writing nonfiction books, right? We're writing like probably self-help business books. I don't buy your book because I want to know more about business. I don't buy your book because I want to know about self-help. I don't buy your book because I want to know about losing weight. I buy your book because I want to get out of my current situation. If your book is about weight loss, I want to get out of the current body that I'm in and into a new body. Mm-hmm. If your book is about helping with inspiration, I want to get out of this sluggish state and this hole that I'm in, and I want to get into a new version. So your book is not about presenting, just ideas. It's about presenting solutions to problems. Because when you remove people from their state into a new state through your book, that's how you impact lives. That's how you make it.
Huge.
Like this is, I want y'all to, because if you write from that perspective, you're writing totally different than 90% of people who address books, right? Now, I'm gonna go into a subject now. Now, Gio, you're gonna get mad at me because I'm going super deep now. Okay,
right, let's go.
I'm going deep on you. I want this to be fire because I know we're coming close to the end here. But let's just talk about numbers for a second, okay? Because this is going to be important. I want people to get, and I recommend everyone on here, your first book, I would highly encourage you to go the self-published route, okay? The self-published route. The reason why, first of all, I don't know if I would ever take a book deal. Someone would have to give me a hell of an advance that I did not have to pay back for me to consider a book deal. Because so I have a friend, I'll tell you a quick story about this, right? I have a friend who's published through a publisher, like a big publisher. And I got him a speaking engagement. And I said, yo, dude, I spoke to my client. They want to order 800 copies of your book. And I'm expecting him to be mad hype. Like, yo, he's getting a keynote fee and he's about to sell 800 books. Because if I sell 800 books, I'm going to numbers in a second, that's a lot of money for me. He couldn't care less. He was like, okay, cool. Tell him to call my publisher. And I remember going like, yo, why is he not excited about it? And then I normally I would have shut up, but I was like, listen, I got to talk to you for like, yo, if I would have sold 800 books, I'd be mad hype. It seems like you're not hype. And he was like, you know, like my publisher makes the money on that. I don't make any money on that. So it's like, it's cool if they want to buy it, but it's like, and it's nice, but he's like, it literally imagine selling 800 books and not making a dime because he got his advance, you know, 3 years ago, and he's still making that advance back. And there's a whole thing about how if they give you an advance, you have to sell enough books to get it back. But when you self-publish, right? So let's take, for example, if you go through the right self-publisher and you print the right like form of a book, how much does a book cost to print typically? Like range?
Yeah, it's anywhere between like $225 and like $350 or something like that.
Right.
Yeah.
So catch this, $225 to $350. Okay. If anyone has a calculator, pull your calculator out because I don't have a calculator. Okay. I want you to get this. Okay. So let's say you're selling a book for $19.95, which I recommend everyone should price their book at least $19.95. And I'm going to tell you why in a second. If it costs you $3 to print the book, you're making $16.95 per book. Okay. So someone do some math for me. Let's say you, and again, I highly recommend bulks. I'm a big fan of bulk sales, and we can do a whole training on bulk sales on how to do it correctly. And I've taught this to you, and you know the importance of doing bulk sales. But let's say a client, who can do the math for me? Let's say a client would love to bring you in to present or speak and do a book signing afterwards, okay? And they want to order 200 copies of your book, just 200. And you don't charge them $19.95 because they're ordering 200. So you got to give them a discount, right? So you give them $14.95. Who can do the math real quick? If someone orders 200 copies of your book, it costs you $3 to print it, okay? $3 to print it. You give them a 25% discount. You charge $14.95 per book. They order 200. How much is that? $2,999. So if you can get one group to bulk order your book at $200, okay? You got to subtract the 3, Diane. Don't get me in trouble on the math here. Okay? I'm trusting you. Thank you, Naima. Diane out here making me look like a fool. I'm just playing. All right, so $23.90. Okay, so it's $23.90 because I didn't do the math in my head, but this is real numbers. So your book's $19.95 retail, right, Gio? You print it for $3. You get one client, which is so easy to do, okay? 200 copies. And by the way, if you like, I mean, man, I could go into, I'm thinking about something I might do now to train, because this is a really important training here. Because if you can get the right clients, whether they're business clients or whether they're schools, they can bulk order copies of your book. You can get $23.90 from one order. One order. So Gio, when people look at the economics of book sales, you know, most people don't sell more than 250 copies of their book, right? Like they make all sorts of mistakes. They don't know how to sell it. When you're looking at it, what are some of the tricks that you do to, one, keep your costs low when you're printing, but also help you sell some books at the tail end?
Yeah, so number one is obviously the length of the book plays a role in how much you're going to pay.
People don't know about this. Talk about this. People don't know.
So what happens is we go ahead, we write 250 pages, 300 pages, which actually studies show that the percentage of people who will read a book above 100 pages, that's where like the dip happens. Like after it goes above 100, it's like, oh, shucks. But if they can go and hold your book and be like, oh, snap, like, oh, like I could read this in a day, Then they get to the end of it, which number one, here's the cool part about it. They feel accomplished when they get to the end. How many of us have gotten a book and was like, hey, how's that book going? Oh, I didn't finish it. It's like you see the shoulders start slumping and you're like, I didn't finish the book. And at the same time, not only that, Tiana says me, right? So not only that, but at the same time, you're paying more. The more pages, the more it costs to go and edit it. The more that it costs to get it formatted. The more that it costs to go and print it. So when you think about it from that perspective, you can keep your costs down and increase the impact that it can have by not going and getting so caught up in the book got to be a certain length. As a matter of fact, one of my friends, he has a book that's 55 pages, and he recently told me they bought 400 copies of his book. Literally just 50 pages. I'm like, 50 pages? He's like, yep, just 50 pages. When it comes to like the positioning of it in terms of, like you said, the bulk book, I firmly believe that bulk book orders is the game. That's why some people, they're like, hey, well, why don't you promote your book so much? Like, how come it's not all over the place? Because I'm not playing the game of Amazon sales all the time, right? Some people are like, I just got to get it on Amazon. And I'm not saying you can't let that happen. I had a person recently who became a best-selling author on Amazon 6 months after his book was dropped. That's important too. But the power of going to an event and seeing 400 people hold your book, 500 people hold your book, 700 people, 800 people hold your book, that's a completely a complete different game. And it's something tangible that somebody can go ahead and hold. So some of the biggest events, they'll say, nah, we don't want to bring you in. Like, what's tangible about this experience? Well, I say a book is the ability to go in. They say what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. Your book allows people to take Vegas with them. Like, right? Like, you created such an amazing experience. Now go ahead and do that. So when we talk about like the business side of it, yes, you want to go ahead and get the clients. You can get sponsorships, right? You can go and get banks that are like, hey, we got to do some community give back. And because we got to do a community give back, we literally have to go ahead and buy X amount of copies. They could sponsor tours, which I know you know that very firsthand.
Gio, I didn't think you was gonna give that away, man. I didn't think let me show you, Gio. You're going above and beyond right now. So this is one of the books I wrote. Okay, I want you to see. This is a book that I wrote. That's when I had hair. I call myself Hairrell, right? Same book. You notice anything different about it? Just this. You know what this is? The only difference between this book and this book, besides a couple of pages, is this. Because a credit union bought 5,000 copies of my book to give it to students, okay? And do you know why they bought 5,000 copies of it? Because I had the book. I cannot stress this enough. And by the way, that was my largest one customer, one sale. And you're sitting down, you're like, holy crap. But you know what? And this is like, we're going into, hold on.
Yeah, we didn't plan on talking about this.
We're going into y'all better stay with us now because we're going into some deep stuff here, okay? This client wants to get into the schools. How do they get into schools without looking like a commercial? Well, they sponsor a book. And now it's not a commercial, it's a resource. You could do this with like tons of books. I mean, tons. And then you have people who want to get into your demographic, but don't want to look like salespeople. They now can get their brand and get their name and get people in there. Oh my gosh, like it's nuts, right? So look, Gio, we've covered a lot here today.
Right.
Okay? We've covered a lot here today, but we haven't even got. But has this been helpful? Has this been like? Is this better than what you? I just want to know, because if y'all like I just don't want to feel like we're out here dropping gems. This should be. I'm gonna record this and sell this. Damn it, Gio. I'm gonna record this and I'm gonna freaking sell this on the internet, because this is. I mean, honestly, this is better than. I mean, I've done tons of research, and Gio's given some of the better tips I've just ever seen. Okay, now, Gio, we talked about writing, but dude, we haven't even gotten to the stuff that, because it's beyond probably the scope of this, right? There's so many details about, you know, how do you format the book? How do you find the right editor for the right price? How many pages should it be? What should the length of the book be? The size of the book? You know, what people do, oh my God. And this is, and you know, me and G, you know, we talked about that Value Hooks article, right? Like, you know how we talk about titles, right? People write a book and then think about a title as an afterthought, right? Tell me, too deep because like I know like, but just tell me why that's the worst thing for people to do, the whole titles thing.
Yeah, the title thing is we talked about this before, is like there's this, here's what I will say as like just a benchmark. If you get a title and you're like, oh my gosh, that's so fire. Here's the thing, you're gonna get burned. Like you're the one who's gonna get burned, because the crazy thing is that fire title can leave people in the dark, and you get so risky. And I realized I had that issue too. This is when I see this book, and this was not the original cover of the book, right? My book was not only the title was is a little bit like harder to understand, like what does the thirst is real mean, right? However, I had like this abstract hand that was reaching for a glass of water in the middle of a desert. And I was sitting here thinking, this is the greatest thing since sliced bread. This is me being Picasso and Michelangelo. Like, I was just an artist. I'm sitting here hyped. I'm talking to my designer like, you've never created something like this. This is so metaphorically sound. Yeah. And then I would go to somebody and I'll say, hey, here you go. And they'd be like, what's that? And I'm like it's my book. Like it's you see it. And they're like, I don't understand. Why is this ghost hand reaching for water? And I'm like, it's a metaphor for blah, blah, blah. And they're like, yeah, that's not working for us. And so that whole clever title, trying to be really cute with it, that's not where you want to go. You want somebody, imagine this, and I didn't plan on sharing this, but like, I want people to understand when you're coming out with your book, I want you to think about your book like someone who is going to go and buy a house, right? And what I mean by this is when you go into your house to buy a house, you're looking at what the neighborhood houses are selling for, what's the school district, all those different things like that. I want you to start thinking about your book. I really firmly believe that there are at least 20 people on here who are going to publish their book in the next 60 to 90 days. Literally, like your book is already inside of you. It's just waiting for the right framework and system to work in. What happens is, because we don't imagine our book ever done, we don't ever think, who's going to be the neighbor? Like, imagine your book on a shelf somewhere. Who is the neighbors around it? And if you have like that clever title, someone who's scanning a book of 20 sees a clever title and it doesn't instantly tell them, what am I getting out of it? But a very clear title, like you had the starting point to student success. I'm like, oh, that's very clear. Like, it's very direct, knows. And yes, it's not the sexiest title, right? It's like, you gotta come up with a nice other clever. I'm sure you have metaphors in there, but it's so clear that someone can go and look at it and say, yep, that's exactly what it is. And I think that's the key.
Clear is better than cute, and clear is better than clever. All day, every day, make that your mantra. Because people write books like The Heart That Never Stops Bleeding. I'm like, what's that book about? Is that a heart surgery going wrong? Like, what you writing about? You know what I'm saying? Like, I gotta know, like, I want people, there's a very specific formula that I know you take people through to find the right title. And dude, like, look, you've been so grateful. I mean, we haven't even talked about why the front cover is so important, because you got to understand the front cover, that image, that impact of it is super important. And the front cover's sole goal is to get people to turn it over and read the back. But if you don't do the back right, then people aren't going to want to read the inside of it. So there's specific ways to do the cover right, to do the title right, to do the back right, to do the bio right. Then you want to find the right printer, and you want to get the highest quality so you don't look like a lot of people choose books that look like they self-published. You don't want the book to look like it's self-published.
No.
You don't want it to look...
Did you just print your term paper?
Yeah, like you don't want it to look like it's all blurry and you just say, you know what, I'm just gonna hit print and cut it in size, and how to write the right length and how to do the front matter. And like, there's an incredible amount of detail you go into to help people from whether it's start to finish, or if someone's been thinking about it, how they can actually like put it all together. And I just can't stress, like, there have been people who've been thinking about writing books for years. It is a dream of theirs. And I would tell you, like, if you could do this alone and with the knowledge you've already had, you would have written your book by now. And I'm saying this from a place of love. Like, it's important because there's incredible ways. And I can tell you right now, people are thinking like, oh, businesses aren't spending money. Like, I'm still selling books right now because people need books. Like, it's never gonna, the need for books will never go away. If anything, times like now heighten them. So, tell me a little bit more about, for everyone, I told you earlier, Gio, tell us more about that first book done system. You've obviously given us a lot, but tell us more about what that is and how that all works.
Yeah, so the first book done system is literally like the A to Z approach to being able to go ahead and have a system that shows you what you need to do every step of the way so that you don't have all of this confusion. The confused mind always says no. The confused mind always says no. So anytime you're going in that journey, you don't know what to do, you're immediately going to go back to where you came from because that's more comfortable. You're going to have to take on new identity. So what I've done in this first book done system is break it down into 7 actual modules. 7 modules where literally it takes you step by step. Module 1 is about mindset. And what that is building that foundation. Once we have the foundation, then we can go and start to ramp up, go faster. You got all that head stuff out of the way. And I love the word mindset because once it's set, then we can really go to the next level. And so once you get out of that, then we go into like the part that everybody realized that they really want to do is the whole writing process. And that's broken up in module 2 and 3 because writing is a bulk of what it is that you're going to be doing. And so we talk about what is the environment that you need to write in? What does the outline look like? What questions should I be asking? All of that is going to be listed for you step by step with prompts so that you can go ahead and be able to get over. There's a thing in there called the 3 W's. The 3 W's literally will give you the framework so that you are guaranteed to write a book that is relevant, that has an audience, and that is purpose-driven. So it's not like you wrote a book that has nothing to do with what is happening in these current times. So you have that. And then there's this thing, I don't know if I never shared this with you, but in module 3, we talk about the perfect chapter. It is actually a framework where you literally will just start inserting things. Like I wish I had this when I wrote my book, like literally for someone to say, hey, Gio, just give me one of these. And I'm like, that's it? You come up by the end of module 3, you will have a perfect chapter. And then all you have to do is go back to module 2 where you have your outline and repeat it for as many times as how many chapters and topics you want to cover. Literally, you will have this whole thing done and it will build out for you. So you're no longer guessing what's happening. Then module 4, we have the editing, which is called rewriting, right? Like editing is the part where people will go ahead and pull their hair out. You get concerned about, Gio, what about my voice? Will the editor go ahead and change my voice? I'm scared about that. I don't want to go and have someone change the way I speak. I'm speaking to I speak a certain way. One of the biggest fears people have is they will have a book out. Someone they know will read it and say, this is not you. Who is that? I don't know you don't even talk like that. So in module 4, we talk about how to go and make sure the different types of editing, how to make sure that your book is not stuck on version 24.6, and right, like it's bad when you start saving your file and you put the letter V and then it's like version 24 and then you're like, I don't want to see 25, so I put 0.6, right? like
25A, 25B, 25B.
Yeah, you're like, what? Like your hard drive is like, please, like just publish it already, right? So we talk about the editors, but I know one of the biggest fears is where do I actually find good ones? Like, how do I find good editors? I know there's some websites where I can go, but what do I say to the people so that I know that they're going to handle this thing? Because I really believe that a book is like your baby. And you want to go and make sure I hand my child off to somebody who's going to take care of it. So how do we make sure that we vet people so that those who are not good, they don't come through our funnel? And those who are good, the cream rises to the top, and we know that we have someone who's going to treat our book the way we would like to be treated, that we would like to have it taken care of. Then module 5, we go into the actual title. What types of titles are good? the clear versus the clever, the literally like, how do I make sure that my audience knows it's directly for them? So we cover that. What's too long of a title versus what's too short of a title? What's the ideal amount of words that a title should have? If you happen to go and say, Gio, I absolutely want to go with the clever title, there are even ways to overcome that part if you have to go that route. We do want you to go clear, but if clever is your thing, you're like, Gio, you don't know me, I'm clever, right? There is a way to get around that to make sure that your book still has clarity, but that still has to be covered. Module 6, we'll talk about design. Most people don't realize this, but it's almost like your book is like a house. There's exterior design and there's interior design. And those are two different animals.
You know how many books I've seen people self-publish and the words bleed into the spine because they didn't know how to set it properly, and it looks like a Mickey Mouse. Like
it's bad.
Yeah.
I've seen several books that have been promoted recently, and I was like, this person was never told how to make their book look professional. This literally in this whole system, I show you how to go and hijack New York Times bestselling author books designs and be able to go and get that for a fraction of the cost. Like, you don't have to go, you get the same exact design and you pay nowhere near the price that it costs for it. But it's super professional, something that you're super proud of. Like, every time I show people my book, they're like, the cover, oh my gosh, like, how did you get that done? That looks so cool. And it's like to the point where it's like, I almost coin it as like, it's what I do. Like, it's simple, and it's not to be conceited, but it's really just, I just study this stuff so much that it's like, there's a formula to it. And so you'll get that in module 6. And then the last one, I know a lot of people have been asking questions about the publishing side, is where do I go and publish? There's so many different places that I could go ahead and publish my book. You talked about this bulk sales stuff. How do I get my book at bulk sales? I heard that I got to go and order 500 copies of my book to get it for $3. That's not the case. You don't have to. There's actually a way and a process to get your book. How do you save when you're going to an event to not go ahead and lose all the money in shipping? Literally, all those things are covered within this system. So literally, it's A to Z. You get all that process done. And here's the coolest thing about it. Not only will you have the system, you will also have the system creator walking with you throughout the whole thing. So I'm literally going to have literally an 8-week live Zoom calls once a week that will help you when you have questions to be able to say, oh my gosh, like, Gio, I know I saw what you said in the video, but it didn't make sense to me. Great. We have a Zoom call on Tuesday, every Tuesday for 8 weeks straight to make sure that every single question is answered so that you have full confidence to be able to go ahead and say, listen, I know exactly what I'm doing. It's different to write a book when you know what you're doing. I get what it's like to go and try to write a book like you're someone who's the blind leading the blind, or you kind of get lost. So we have that in there as well, templates as well. So Gio, here's copy and paste what you would write to go and get your designer. Here's copy and paste what you would write to go and get your editor. Here's exactly where Gio goes to get his editor. And in addition, I got this special thing for those who are ready to like jump on this system. I will literally give you my Rolodex. Like, you'll literally get the Rolodex. Gio, who did you use to design those cool covers? Here. Not so like for if you're ready and you're like, Gio, I want this book done. Literally, for those people who are ready, I want to go. I've helped self-publish 48 books in the last 2 years. And my goal is to literally be able to say, you know what? How cool would it be if I showed them, and this is why the system was born, how can I write 100 books in the next year? I can't. But I can go and create a system that would let people go and get it. And with my support, all of a sudden now I can go and say, I helped Diane, I helped Tiana, I helped all these people to come out with a book. And now all of a sudden there's 100 books. 100 books was born. I call myself the book doula, right? Like I help deliver books, right? So, but I literally will help you get to that point so that you can get there. And then the coolest thing is I got these things around, called the hashtag My First Book Done t-shirt that I want to give everyone when they're done with it, to be like, hey, you guys can join this secret society, this club, and join the 3% of people that actually write and publish a book, and not be a part of the 81% of people that literally are saying, I got an idea, but it dies with them. They said that the richest place in the world is the cemetery, because that is where some future presidents, some world changers, their dreams died with them. my goal is to help people who are ready to go and say, Gio, I don't want to be one of the 81%. I want to be part of the 3%, not the 97% of people who never write that book. I don't want to be a person who's selfish, like Arel said earlier, and didn't have the courage and the discipline and the support and the gall to go ahead and actually get this book out. Yeah. So that's the whole system.
Now, if somebody were to hire you personally to do that whole book writing process one-on-one, how much does that cost?
$10,000. I just had someone, we're writing a book right now called The Art of the Fight. And it's a mental conditioning book for martial artists. $10,000 to handle everything.
And by the way, for anyone who's questioning 10,000, I have a good friend of mine who also writes books as well. He does $200,000 and $100,000 packages, and wow. That's it. He does 200 and 100. That's it, because people go, oh my gosh, and I wish I was making those numbers up. They're real. So when he says 10,000, I'm like, man, that's literally a discount compared to what these other people are charging, because they're not going to do it half at the way that Gio cares.
Yeah, no. So it's literally, and I'm not with this system. I'm not holding anything back. Like literally, I'm not holding anything back. You're getting exactly what that process is. The difference is I'm not writing the book for you. Right? Like my team, I'll make them available to you for those who are interested in joining the system. But at the same time, you don't have to go and pay that $10,000. Like literally, and I'm pretty sure many people are like, I see what's the website? Like, how do I go and learn more about the system? Literally, the price to get this whole entire system with the support, with the live coaching, we'll have a private Facebook group as well, where you can now have the community aspect. Because one of the things about writing a book, it's one of the loneliest things you could ever do. Because no one else, like, listen, I said 3% actually publish one, right? Write and publish. So where are you going to find, if you're in a room with 100 people, 3 of you guys have a book. And that's most of the time not the case. It's actually less than that. You might be the only one. But with this Facebook group, you'll be with other authors who understand the pain, understand the struggle, who's going to be there to support you as well. That all be available. And I do have the website. Can I share that in the chat? Like,
yeah. You can put it
in. Let's put it in here. And on there, you'll see all the information in terms of what the investment is. And the investment for that is $14.97. Like literally, I know easily most of my mentors, and I know you've talked about this with me, and I had other mentors are like, are you crazy? Like, you're giving everything away essentially for just that amount. I've been told it should be $5,000, period. And I know that, but I'm more committed to seeing 100 books born in the next 365 days. And I'm like, you know what? Forget about it. Don't worry about it. It's in the chat, Danny. I just posted it. There you go. So literally, I want to help 100 books get born in 365 days. And so because of that, I'm like, listen, I'll go ahead and pass on that discount. I understand it could be 5,000, but for today, and because this is the first time I'm ever doing this cohort where I'm actually holding your hand and supporting you, I'm like, listen, I want to go ahead and get as many people as possible. So I want to make this as affordable as I possibly can.
So you put the link in the chat.
Yep.
So to clarify, just for anyone who's curious, so for $14.97, $1,497, yep. Or they can do 3 payments, right? I think I saw on the site.
There's 3 payments for $547, if I'm not mistaken.
Right. So for 3 payments of $547 or $1,497, you can literally get over the pain and hurdle of having your book done. And we literally didn't talk about this, and I'm not saying that just like to say we'll talk about this. I mentioned it earlier. I will do this for you, okay? And I'll do this for you, for your founding members, okay? For anyone who joins his program and they say, you know what, I'm sick of sitting on the sidelines. This book is important. I know it's going to help. I will do a free training with Gio. We'll do just for your founding members. Well, I will break down the entire bulk buying, how you set it up, how do you start doing it. I will break down how to start getting people to want to bulk buy your book while you are writing your book, so that when your book is done, you have people buying it in mass when it becomes live, right? There's a whole system to that. I will do an interview. I will break it down. I will hide nothing. I will like literally give it. I've literally built my entire career off of selling bulk books, but there's a right way and a wrong way. So what I'll do, and I'll do this just for the founding groups, the people who get in with this particular cohort that you're doing, I'll do an interview with you and I'll break all that down. So if anyone's curious about how do you write it, how do you get it done, you'll get it done. And I'll show you how to do bulk sales. So you're not worrying about selling one book or two books at a time. You can sell 100, 150 books at a time.
Huge. That is the game changer. And what's crazy is sometimes as speakers or events that you do, sometimes they just don't pay speakers, right? Like they don't pay speakers, but they'll easily go ahead and say, hey, we give away pens to all the people who's coming in attendance. And then you're going to say, hey, would a book work? And they're like, yeah, like how many of them do you think you can get? Well, how many of them do you need, right? Like, right. And so now it makes the hosts look even better because they're now going and giving somebody something that's actually tangible. And whenever you're speaking on a stage, you have like some type of a little celebrity aura that comes with you. And now they get a chance to go and have pictures. They go post on social media. I've had people come and literally say, Mom, like that guy who's on the cover, I met him today, right? And I'm not to say to go and make my head big, but it's also like to see that moment of transformation, that was an invitation, and they get a chance to go and do that over and over again. So with the bulk book sales is really, really, really a big game changer for a lot of people. And that's really how you can make a lot of money.
And what if someone comes in and they go, all right, man, look, so I hear what you're promising me. You're promising me that you go through my system, I will have my book in my hands. Like I will be able to hold my book in my hand. But, you know, what if someone doesn't like it? What if they say, dude, I spent a couple of weeks with you and it sucks. I don't like it.
Listen, I'm giving a 30-day back money guarantee. So literally you can go through the whole course. You can see it. I don't want you, if it doesn't help you, I don't want your money. Like I'm not doing this just to make money. I want to make sure that you have something that you're proud of. So if this system does not work for you, which is possible, I don't think it's not likely, but it's possible, right? But at the same time, I want to make sure that you have no risk. Like you literally can go in, see what it looks like. And if it doesn't fit, it's not your cup of tea, then I hope you find the person who is the cup of tea for you, but I want to make sure that you have this experience. And so to make sure that you have absolutely no reason to not give this a shot, you have 30 days to go through the whole entire system. And if at the end of the time you've done the work, you've put in the work, you've tried, and you just said, Gio, this just does not work for me, no problem. I don't hate you, nothing like that. We're cool. Get your money back, no problem.
So you were telling me earlier before when we were scheduling this, that there are certain people that this just won't be a good fit for, right? So I think that's important because I think just you being a person of integrity, there's certain people that you said like, look, I've gotten burnt in the past. There are certain people I'm just not going to work with. Who are those people? Just so if anyone is in this category, they just know they just shouldn't even join.
Yeah, and if you're not teachable, right? If you're not open to being coached, this is not going to work for you, because I want to make sure, and this might be harsh, but I want to make sure that you write the right book. It's not just about writing a book, it's writing the right book. Because if you write the wrong book, the bulk sale system doesn't work. Right? Right. So you don't get the chance to sell, make income, and make an impact. So if you're not coachable, you're like, Gio, listen, I'm writing my autobiography and it's going to be my diary and people are just going to have to read it. I'm Anne Frank. You're going to read my book, right? Like, I right? If that is you and you're just adamant about it, then it's probably best we just don't enter a relationship, because I can't help the person who's not open to being helped. And so if that's you, this is not for you. If you think that there's a magic wand that you could wave, like the system doesn't require any sweat equity, this is not for you. Like I'm telling you, I will give you everything to fast track you to get your book done, but the book still has to be done by you in the system. You have to do work. What I'm telling you is you're not working by yourself. There's no, I'm not sure. Anything that you're not sure of, I will address. But if you are someone who is coachable, who is someone who's open to being able to have someone guide you, again, it's your book. I'm not trying to go and impose my will on what I believe and all that stuff on you. I want to just help and get your book out. Then those are the people that I feel like we would be able to go ahead and do some great work together.
And just for clarity, because I got a message from somebody, when does this start? You said you're teaching a cohort. When is it actually?
Yeah, so it starts July 28th. July 28th, we're starting. You'll have access to all the materials for the course, and we'll be doing our first live group training on the same day. And so literally you'll have access to the content, and at the same time, we'll drip it every single week. Because what I've found is people feel overwhelmed. Sometimes the people are like sitting here and like, Gio, I need a little bit more time to get this part down in my system. So we'll drip it once a week. And during the live coaching calls that we'll be having, we'll go through it so that we make sure that we review. It's a little bit different when I'm not going to say I'm the master, but I want to say that when the coach is in the room, it's a little bit easier to understand and be able to have the person show you exactly where it is and here's how to fix it. And so July 28th, I cannot wait to have you guys join us. We'll do the live coaching there. We'll have the actual course material as well, so you can go ahead and dive in on it. But that's when we'll start. It'll be 8 weeks long. You'll have everything at the end of 8 weeks that you will ever need to go and have your book in your hand. And I know I'm not going anywhere. This is not something that I'm going to run away from. I believe the books change people's lives. And so I'm committed to helping you get to that point. So I know some people might be saying, Gio, I haven't been able to write a book for 10 years. The idea of me writing one in 8 weeks is very hard for me to wrap my head around. And I would tell you that if you've been sitting on it for 10 years, you just didn't get the right invitation or the right poke to make sure you can get it out. So it is possible to get it done in that time frame. But in the event that you don't, the material, you'll always have access to it. And I'm still committed to ensuring that you do get your book done.
So what does that mean? So what if 8 weeks pass and they don't get the book done?
Then when we do the next cohort, you will be able to come and join that cohort as well and be able to go and get the training. Sometimes we got to hear it twice to get it. But I want to make sure that for the time frame until we get your book done, I want to make sure that you have the support that you need to go ahead and do that. Again, like I said, I'm not going anywhere. So if you can't finish it in 8 weeks, we will be doing this over and over again. We'll have multiple cohorts. This is the first one, the founding members one. And so you will have access to me, and you probably have more access to me than anybody else would ever have. But I just wanted to make sure that you guys know that literally, like, you will have that support to make sure that you get to that finish line.
Very cool. So today is the 16th. So you're starting on the Monday the 27th or Tuesday the 28th?
Tuesday the 28th.
Tuesday the 28th. So it's going to start Tuesday the 28th. So you have a couple of days. Now, I remember I was looking at the site. So honestly, for $14.97, like, you could bulk sell 200 books once and make that back, like, double it, like, in spades, right? Like, it's not actually as difficult as people think, and people like books. There's ways to do it. I'll break down that whole system. And the thing is, you know, I would encourage you to think about what would it mean to you to be able to go to your family and have them talk about you, the author, the one member of the family, usually the only member of the family that wrote a book, and to be able to have the pride of knowing how your friends feel about you, how your family feels about you. Imagine what it would feel like to see yourself finally stop thinking about something. And, you know, there's a bunch of people sitting on the couch and talking about what they're going to do. And I just always never wanted to be a part of that group. I wanted to be a part of those people who were out on the floor playing the game, like, making it happen. And to be able to walk around with it, to be able to have this in your bag and meet someone and give it to them as a gift is one of the most powerful business cards. It's the most powerful way to build a relationship. I would ask all of you to ask yourselves, what would it mean to you to see yourself in a world where you can thumb through a book that's the one you wrote and get emails from people saying, oh my gosh, like, you changed my life. And David or Danny or Carl or Vernon, like, thank you for writing this. I had no idea you went through so much that's just like me. And this is exactly what I needed to hear. This is everything to me. I mean, there are few joys in my professional life than getting messages like that, getting online and seeing a positive review of something that you did. Like, it's a feeling that's immeasurable. And then you become the thought leader. Like, why should people bring you in to speak if you're interested in speaking? Well, because you're the thought leader. You wrote the book. Why should you get on the news? Well, because you wrote the book. Why should we have you on the board? And I promise you, everything that I've done, the first thing people say about me is Arel the author. It precedes Arel at the White House, speaking at the White House under the Obama administration. It precedes Inc. 30 Under 30. It precedes $1 Million Business Creator. It precedes all those things, best-selling author. That I happen to be a best-selling author. So that author title, first thing that people say. And it's absolutely in the realm of possibility, but it starts with the book. It starts, like, all of that goes away. And the thing is, a lot of people, and I'll say this, and I say this from a place of love. And Gio, I know you'll never say this, but I will say this from a place of love. There are a lot of people who think about achieving goals and have every intention to achieve that goal, and they never do. And I've been scared to death to be one of those people my entire life. I've been scared to death to be someone who says, you know what, I always wanted to do that. And then that makes me feel good in a moment that I'm empty and dead on the inside because I didn't move and do the thing I was supposed to do. I want it to be someone who says, damn it, if I'm going to invest my time and energy, and if you're someone who's going to show up to something like this, it's because you want this dang thing in your hand to be yours. And Gio, I honestly don't know anyone who would, like, I don't know anyone who would do this for $14.97, considering you can make that back in like one bulk order book sale. Like, it's ridiculous. But I appreciate the fact that you're doing that, considering one-on-one would be 10,000. So what I would tell you is thank you, Gio. Thank you for sharing all that you shared. Thank you for putting this out there. If anyone has any questions, I know that if anyone's questions about this, like anything at all, they can schedule a time to talk with you as well.
Yeah.
And you'll, like, for free.
On that same page, you'll see like a big red button that says schedule a call. You guys can go on there. We can go and address any questions that you may have. That you might be like, hey, I'm just wondering if this is exactly what I need. I'll be more than happy to go ahead and answer that question.
Very cool. Carl wants to know, what time would the Zoom calls be?
Yeah, it'll be in the evenings. So it'll be probably 8 p.m. on Tuesday. Eastern time. Yes, yeah. Eastern time.
Very cool. Cool. What other questions do you have? We got a couple more minutes here. I want to make sure we can help everybody. Stay safe, Tiana. Thank you, Carl. What other questions people have? Again, if anyone's interested, I'll put the link there. I'll be happy to do that training on how to do the bulk order book sales as a bonus as well. If anyone has any questions about what we talked about here today, please post them in the chat. We'll be happy to answer them. So we'll stay on and try to answer as many questions as we can.
Cool beans. Let's see. Let me see if there's any questions. You're part of the training will be. Thank you very much. Got it. Oh, so it was a question. When would be your part of the training? Oh, the bulk sales.
We'll schedule it. So
yeah, we'll schedule it.
Because literally, G didn't even know I was going to do that. So we don't.
Yeah, I didn't.
Schedule, right? So what I'll do is everyone who signs up, and by the way, if anyone does sign up, let me know in the chat, because I'd love to congratulate you. You know, if you're the first person, like, there's always one person who goes, you know what?
I gotta be first.
I'm all in, right? What we'll do is I'll connect with Gio, and then we'll connect with the entire group, and we'll put out 3 or 4 dates. Whatever date is the date that people like and everyone can be on. I'll do the training. We'll record it and make sure everybody gets a copy of that. And Gio, if you want to use that, however you want to use it.
Absolutely. That's great. Antonio said, I finished writing my book. I'm not 100% confident with the title. Okay. What, you finished it. Is it, so what's the title? I mean, I don't know if you want to say that on here or not. I'll be more than happy. And now, I forgot to say this, for all those who sign up, you're going to get, like, on the page, once you finish your processing, your payment and stuff, you'll see an actual link for us to schedule our first call. I didn't even mention, it's completely flew over my head, but you're going to get like this book audit. And I'm literally going to go through your idea and audit your idea so that you can literally have the confidence to know, like, man, like, my idea has been vetted. Again, I tell people all the time, I'm always reading like 10, 20 books at a time. So I'm like always around books. And so you'll be able to go ahead and get that. So I don't know if, Antonio, that might be a better time to do that. If you don't want to share what your title is here, I'll be more than happy to address it while Arel and I are on live, if you would like to go ahead and do that. Again, we'll address that in the course as well. So that might be a better fit for you. We can do that. Okay, let's do that. Which one? I'm just I'm confused. You want to share it now, or you want to share it when you're in the course itself? Thank you guys, David. Thank you guys, very motivating. Man, Gio, will you be available to critique the book along the way during the writing process? 100%. 100%. So I'll definitely go ahead and I'll be able to critique your book. Again, I'm one person, so can I go ahead and read 100 books at once? No, but again, I will go through the process. You're not going to go alone in this process. I want you to have full confidence. You're not going to go and have the confidence to do bulk sales, to sell your book, to go on the media, to send emails, to go and do that stuff if you're not confident. I will give you that confidence so that you'll be able to go firm and stand strong and say, I'm proud of this book. I know it works. I'll be more than happy to go ahead and critique your book.
And one of the benefits too of the particular Facebook group that they'll have is, like, if you write a chapter, you can post that chapter in the Facebook group and have your associate members give you feedback because they have the information, they've gone through the process. So it's like, if you ask most people, like, hey man, like go up to someone you love and say, hey, here's my book, could you read it and give me a feedback? Like, most people ain't gonna read it, but the people in this group, they're gonna be on the same journey. So Gio can put eyes on it, other people can put eyes on it, so you'll know that when you go to print, it's the best possible version. So that, I mean, that's the power of, people talked about creating accountability. I would say, if you want accountability, you want accountability with people who have skin in the game.
Yep.
I want accountability with people who care as much as I care, because I've seen this time and time again with accountability groups. They start out with a lot of excitement because there's no skin in the game, and in 3 days, everyone's out. But when people have skin in the game and they care, those people will ride or die with you, man. It's honestly beautiful.
100%. So Antonio says, is the title My Journey of Overcoming Childhood Trauma? And then the subtitle is Successful Strategies to Help You Live a Life of Victory? He said, yes. I'm guessing. Yeah, so I do like the fact that it is talking about overcoming childhood trauma. The part that is tough, and I would say this, is that I would almost imagine anyone who wrote about overcoming trauma would say my journey of. And so we would have to go and tweak that a little bit. But I do like the idea of the overcoming childhood trauma. I think that that's great. Successful strategies to help you live a life of victory. One of the things I will say about the title that's also important is that, who are you talking to? So like, when you say overcoming childhood trauma, am I still, at what age? Am I like 45 years old and I still have unsettled things about the trauma that I've dealt with? Am I 21 years old? That would be important to know exactly at what point of my life am I in, or who are you talking to? So are you writing to the 21-year-old version of Antonio? Or are you writing to the 16-year-old version of Antonio? Or that would be important too. And I would love to have seen something like that in the title so that we could know it's not every single person in the world who's ever had childhood trauma. Who specifically are you talking to?
Yeah, and you also want to make sure to dovetail off of that, when you say my journey, the book's about you. This isn't who the book is about, Antonio. And I'm saying this from a place of love, right? So when Gio's talking about, my journey, again, that's a book that's self-reflected. It has to be about, other people. What do you want them to get from it, right, Gio? Like, it's not about just me, right?
Yeah, it would actually almost be better if it was your journey, right? Like, than my, because when it's my, then it goes like, what's in it for me? You just told me about your journey. I don't care about your journey. I really care about my journey. And then again, like I said earlier, your journey is only a supporting actress. Yes. Your journey of overcoming childhood trauma, that's what the person wants, because that is literally an invitation to read the book. My journey is not an invitation for me to go and get the solution that I personally need, that the childhood trauma created in my life. Danny says, I've been wanting to write my own book, a book about my life and how your past does not determine your future. I am toying with the idea of the title, From Devastation to Appreciation. What do you think about that title? I do like the devastation to appreciation. That has like a nice ring to it. It does still have a little bit of element of clever in it, because it has like a nice ring to it, right? It sounds good. And so I would say that for you, if you are really adamant about using that, I would think about the subtitle, specifically making sure that you address who you're talking to, specifically, And again, with appreciation, that's still not 100% clear on what that actually means, because that could mean a lot of things to different people.
Well, we got about 3 or 4 more minutes before we hit the cutoff time here. We're going hard, man. I appreciate everyone who's sticking through. So again, if you have any questions, reach out to him. Bud has a question.
I don't have.
Oh, that's a private question for you, Gio.
Yeah. But the best thing I would say is go on that link and we can schedule. Hit the red button and schedule one of the times, and we can definitely talk. I mean, if you really believe that this program is for you, then I think we can definitely make something work.
Very cool. Yeah, so reach out. So again, if you have any questions, speak now. We would love to help anyone, whether it's a title, whether it's about the book writing process, whether it's about the first book done system. If you have any questions at all, get them out. We want to make sure y'all leave here with the good stuff, okay?
I said thank you both. You're welcome. D said, absolutely.
Absolutely.
Rough idea of a page number. I always recommend try to go 100 so you can have a spine. But I would say in between 100 and 150 pages would be pretty good. I wouldn't go too much above that.
And, you know, one of the things I'll tell you, for anyone of y'all who are like, oh my gosh, how do you write 150 pages? Like, Gio will show you, like, it's not.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah, we don't say nothing.
It's not nearly as hard. Number one, it's not nearly as hard as you think. And number two, if you are one of those people who are on the opposite end of the spectrum, where like for some people, the thought of writing 150 is like crazy difficult. It's really not that hard, especially with what Gio showed me. The second thing is you're on the other end of the spectrum. There's no rule that says you can't write 2 books.
That's true.
There's no rule that says you can't. So like if you got a 400, you're a 500 pager for some reason. I don't know why you would write that much for your first book.
Tim Ferriss.
There's an easy way to turn it into like a part 1, part 2, or 2 books, and you can get 2 for the price of 1. So, or you just edit it out, save it for later. But like that 150 is.
Yeah, I think that range is good. And what's crazy, one of the people that I worked with, they literally took their book and divided it, turned one into the book itself, the other book to make it shorter, or to a workbook. And they recently just emailed me and told me, Gio, they bought 100 copies of my book and they bought 100 copies of the workbook. And I'm like, what? I'm like, this is so amazing, man, what you did. So literally you can go ahead and have 2 books and sell them both. So, so he did bulk sales and did it twice.
That's awesome.
Who else is here? Vanya said, I'm very interested in your program. My book title idea is Hey Little Girl, Taking the Labels Off of Mini Me or Younger You. Interesting. It does intrigue me. I think the subtitle is very important. Without a subtitle, that title alone won't tell people what it is. Question about book title in the question and answer tab. Oh. Title is, I didn't see that. Oh.
You see it?
Vernon says, can you see it?
Yeah, I'll send it to you. I'll just read it. It'll be easier.
Okay.
The title of Vernon's potential book is 3-Piece to Success, a blueprint to high-level success in any industry, written by an 8-year NFL vet, high school championship coach, international speaker, and certified life coach.
Got it.
So is the question about the title, the 3-Piece to Success, a blueprint for high level, is that the question? What is the specific question, Vernon? Because I want to make sure we just answer the question you're asking. Like, do you think it's a good title? Do you have a question about length? Like, just for clarity.
Yes, thoughts on the title. Yeah, the 3-Piece to Success, a blueprint to high-level success in any industry. So I would tell you, like, which industry do you resonate with the most? That would probably be helpful to go in, because here's the cool thing. When we say any industry, specific people will say, that's not my industry. It's almost too generic, versus it would be great to have like almost like your dummies edition, like books for dummies, and they have like all these different categories, and it would be even more powerful where you could take the same book, reposition it, and now you have the 3-Piece to Success a blueprint on high-level success in the real estate market, with athletes, or all those different things. So I would actually be more specific in terms of who is it a blueprint for. Awesome. Carl said he just registered. Oh, that's awesome, man.
Well, I'm playing no games.
Yeah, Carl not playing.
Carl's gonna be the dude who's gonna be, y'all gonna be watching him promoting his book in a couple weeks. Way to go, Carl. That's what's up, dude.
Awesome, man.
So listen, we're gonna wrap it up. We've been going for an hour 45 strong here, hour 46 now. So Gio, thank you so much for one, just sharing your wisdom with us and being very, very generous. I know, honestly, I can tell you this is super powerful. Okay, for anybody who has any questions about Gio's program, what I would encourage you to do is go to the link. If you're someone who's like, you know what, I'm dealing with this, I'm going through this, do me a favor, do yourself a favor, more appropriately. There's a red button on this page that says click to schedule a call. Click on it, schedule a call with Gio. Just talk it out. You know, I'm kind of talking for you, Gio, here, but I hope you don't mind. Like, I know you're a good dude. Like,
I really genuinely want to help. And if you get clarity and you are able to say, hey, Gio, you really helped me and let's move forward, that's great. In the worst case, not even a worst case scenario, if it's not a fit, but you still get clarity after the phone call, that's great too. I really just want to genuinely help. That's why that button is on there. So if there are questions prior to getting into the first book done system and getting this program, I'll be more than happy to answer. So it's not, Arel knows that we really, really just genuinely care about helping people. And so if you have questions, please go to the link, hit the red button. There's a bunch of times. I made my schedule open tomorrow to be able to go and field any questions that you may have. So definitely go ahead and do that.
Awesome. Well, dude, thank you so much.
I can't wait. Carl's going to get that hashtag my first book done t-shirt. Oh my gosh, he's going to join the club. Let's go.
It's time. You know, and for anyone else who's sitting here thinking about this, if any of you need to take some time to think, if any of you got some time, like I want you to realize that it's the people who take action that get the results. And Carl, like, you know, Gio's all for you. Like you got a friend in me now. You support, like, people want to make a difference. I'm all about that. So I can't wait to do the training with you, Carl. See you on there. For anyone else who's thinking about this, what I encourage you to do is one, schedule a call with Gio. Really, he's a good guy. He'll be able to answer your questions, get you clarity. So if you're on the fence about it, think about it. And if you have to think about it, the only thing I'll say to you is, I remember thinking about wanting to write my book back in 2009 is when I first wrote the book. And I remember thinking about it for 3 years. And when people ask me, how long did it take me to write the book? I never know if the answer should be 3 years or if it should be, you know, a couple of months. And the truth is, when I got clarity and I got support and I got help and I invested in myself, I did that. That clarity allowed me to move so much quicker, and it's paid for itself thousands of times over the years. So I encourage you to ask yourself, who do you want to be in a couple of years from now? What life do you want to live? Who do you want to see yourself as? How does the book play that into the role? And then ask yourself, what decision would your future self want you to make right now? What decision would your future self say, this set us up for a better life? This set us up to impact more people because we got that 1% change we didn't know we needed that made all the difference. So I encourage any of you who are thinking about it, and I really say this from a place of love, think about who you want to be and think about what type of actions that person would take. And then decide to take that action, because this is something that'll impact lives. And Gio, you just get a guy to do it, man. There's no one I would trust more to do this, man. So get it, man.
No doubt.
Gio, you want to say anything else before we bounce?
No, listen, thank you for putting this together. Hopefully everybody got something out of it. I think I saw a bunch of comments. Everybody loved what happened tonight. And I look forward to doing this with the people, man. Let's get to 100 books. Let's do it.
Let's do it. All right, y'all. Peace and love. I will see y'all later.